I have finally turned to the dark side and played a Cybers deck that was also Maliss. And I can safely say that, especially for this format and the upcoming, if you want to play a very solid deck that can still win an event or still do well, Maliss is definitely one of those picks. And before anyone asks, the only reason I am playing this deck at all is because the fact that this deck has been hit as much as it has and is still very much capable of winning, to me, is very intriguing. That means on a technical level, this deck can do something that a lot of other decks can't do, which is adapt and play. So without wasting time, this is my topping list for Maliss that I got recently. We play the one Dormouse, just whatever. You play as many of the copies as you can. One White Rabbit. You play the 3 Chessy Cat. And you play 3 of my favorite Maliss card in the deck, 3 March Hare. Just maximize on those names as much as possible. And of course, we play the backup Adignister with the 1 Wizard Adignister. The supplements, they're not quite as good as the Maliss names, but you play them anyway for consistency and extension. And Wizard has a nice little niche effect, but everyone knows that. 1 Magma Hut, 1 Baldrake, 1 Druisworm for your Bystials in the main deck. I always want to play more because they're such good cards, but you definitely need to bare minimum play at least 1 of each of these. I believe Baldrake is the best. You play the 1 Shifter. I'm not a fan of this card, especially in this deck, because it can complicate a lot of your lines and conflict, but your deck can technically play this card with some relative ease, but I do understand the old school mentality that Shifter is a little conflicting for some of the lines, but you can just scam decks entirely with this card, so you play it. I actually have a habit of siding this card out very frequently because it's just, you'll see why, but you definitely play Shifter to some capacity with this deck. For other hand traps, 3 Ash, still really good. I know a lot of decks right now are trying to opt, like you look at branded lists, they put their Ash in the side, which is a choice. I don't necessarily agree with it. It just helps deal with Charmies like this. I'm also playing 2 Ogre in the side. I was originally pairing this up with 1 Bell and 1 additional Imperm, but I believe Ogre is just way more impactful in this format and really good into the branded matchup. And then you have 2 Imperm just to level it out because I'm too poor to afford Sparks, and 3 copies of Impulse because this card is unfair. You get to really just play some of the best cards in the current game with this deck. Also 2 Field Spell with 1, so you're essentially still playing 3 with this deck. 1 Mouse in the Mirror. This card's nuts. This card is insane. And of course you play the 2 Traps. I would actually love to play more, but there's no reason to. The only thing that sucks is I never played this deck when White Binder was legal, so I'll never be able to enjoy being able to reset when it plays down, but it is what it is. 3 copies of Pot of Greed. 1 Gold Star because this card's nuts, and 1 Talents because it's just so good. And an easy side out card or keep in. And that's the 40 count main deck. For the extra deck, I'm not entirely sold on all the cards in the extra deck, but I'm pretty content with a lot. I currently have 2 Hearts Crypt right now. I might cut this down back to 1. Just Maliss is a pretty compact extra deck, but a lot of the cards are kind of useless. And that's the one thing I really don't like about this deck, is there's a lot of really, really situational cards. Not situational, that they occasionally, I mean really situational. Not a huge fan of that. And play the 1 Red Ransom. Great card. These cards are ridiculous for this deck, and they do so much. 1 Allied Code, 1 Access Code, 1 Firewall. I am not a fan of Firewall. I'm really not. The co-link can be really cumbersome to achieve. The idea of the card is fine, being able to summon from hand, The idea of being able to loop back like a Bystial that you use for extension is great, but you have to set this up for that to work, and sometimes it's just not there. And that's the thing I find very frustrating is you would think this deck would be freer because Link Monsters are the freest in the game, but you'd be surprised. There's actually a lot of restrictions when it comes to what you can really go into and what's really meaningful. I still think you should play the Firewall because if you can co-link this, being able to get a resource back is huge, and you like to preserve a lot of your plays. I also played the one Heat Soul, draw one, going back to my Kashtira days of drawing one card with the Dracosack lines. One Dark, this is one of my favorite cards in the extra. I currently have 2 SPs because I was so tired of not having enough offensive cards that sometimes you need to make the second. And of course, this can be cut, but one SP usually doesn't do it, but a second is really good as well. But again, this deck has some variants that you can change. One Haggard Lizardos, this is one of the better cards, and I know some people say this is a really situation. I think this card is phenomenal. It really helps this deck a lot. Cyber's Wicked, this card, I understand, is good, but I have almost never summoned this card. I have never wanted to summon this card. I have never wanted to go out of my way to summon it. It's usually an unwinnable game state regardless. This is a card that I would love to cut because it's just so specific, and I understand this card is technically good if you position it well, and I know for some people they're not going to want to hear that. I'm just not a fan of it. I'd rather have cards that actually just do something rather than sit there and wait to be doing something. Link Rebo, I played 2. I know a lot of people play the Omirage. That's not incorrect. But I like this because it lets you not lose to traps as hard. And I play the one Link Disciple just for another Link 1, but also a way for access code to get it. So that supplements. I find you don't really need to pop that much when you get to that line. That's just me. For my side, I am trying out a list that I saw with 3 Bystial Lubellians, with 1 Baldrake, and the Branded Regained. And I actually used this in a Maliss mirror that I had tonight. And I used this in a branded matchup where I could just keep eradicating their graveyard. And I like the idea of this. It's probably not as strong as getting extra real consistency, like playing the Radiant Typhoon engine to go into Cherry Beanie to dump and then banish. So it lets you see your Maliss names more frequently. And it's probably not as good as a blowout card or a Floodgate, but I like this because it plays very minimal. It complements your deck style already, and Regained is natural advantage. A lot of opponents need to respect this card, but they're probably not going to go out of their way to deal with this card. There's a lot of other things they'd rather want to deal with. But Regained is just free. If you resolve Magma Hut at least twice in one of matches, you pretty much just win because you're going to generate way too much advantage. But this is really good against the mirror. This is really good against a lot of graveyard decks. This really helps your board push a little bit more. It's not perfect, but I do enjoy the concept of this a lot. And I'm a big fan of engine pushing versus having generic board breakers. That's just kind of my thing with decks like this. So I play those. 2 Droll, because Droll's Droll. I also play for other hand traps 3 Perelia just to play it safe. I could probably cut this down to 2. I probably will. Just super good. A lot of decks right now, you just do not want them to play to any capacity. You want to stop them because their boards are a little too much. I have the 1 Thrust. I'd probably cut 1 Perelia for this. I have 1 DDG. This helped me win 1 game against Brandon. Just a good card. And my final card is Evenly. I prefer this over stuff like Lightning Storm and Harpies. Even though it gets rid of your battle phase, a lot of cards right now can come back. Evenly cannot. And if Evenly resolves, you're in a phenomenal position to win the game. It's not perfect, of course, but for a lot of matchups, it's just really, really good. And I feel very safe every time I see this card. But yeah, that is my Maliss list. I got 3rd place with this deck. We had a pretty decent turnout for our new locals. We were able to go into quite a few rounds and getting testing for this. I will say, to clear up some things, regarding the regional that happened earlier in June, there was quite a few things that came up. I didn't get to really play Eldritch. The format had shifted so much to the point that it was unplayable. Fawn and the Virtuous was just too good. Every deck was a grind deck. Striker was just the better version of a back row deck that you wanted to play. There was just things that happened. I didn't really get enough testing with the deck, and I feel comfortable bringing it. Yeah, I could do pretty good on a local level, but it could not win against other decks like even close at all. So I had to end up taking it. I do apologize for the lack of like real updates. Just real life happened. I do YouTube for the fun of it. I have no intent right now of doing anything more than just covering as it comes and goes. Right now, I'm playing Maliss, trying to get myself back up into a spree and to get good content and to just kind of give something to the community. I know for a lot of people that might know me, they'll look at this and go, this is completely hypocritical because you hate waifu decks and you hate cybers and you don't love links, and you're absolutely right about all those things. But I have been in a mood to try stuff. I might actually make a Sky Striker video talking about how that deck completely humbled me and how I have completely new feelings for the deck in general, because I think that deck is deceiving in terms of how it's viewed when you don't play it. So yeah, that's about it. This was my deck profile. I'm sure it won't like stand out crazy compared to a lot of other stuff, but I do think this deck is still very much a contender. It can do pretty decently against branded. It can do well against other decks. The reason I lost out was just because my game 1, I just bricked. It happens. All the other games are really good, very well played out. And yeah, that's about it. Here's hoping that I can actually give a little bit more in the future. Updates. I still want to do the Delta of Invitation video because I do think that's still very important for Eldritch players to just absolutely fundamentally understand how much that card does change the way that you play that deck and you want to approach the deck building, because that card is, in my opinion, one of the strongest field spells ever printed in the game. And almost any deck that I think of, and half my friends tell me all the time, stop trying to put a Delta of Invitation engine with one Eldritch to use as a board breaker or as a link play. Stop trying to add that. I really want to. I still do. I've even thought of it for this. So yeah, that's about it. I won't ramble anymore. Thank you for watching.